Hello and welcome to the Orbit Extra, the show that puts you in control with live and immediate reaction to the very latest episode of The Orbit. I'm your host, Natalie Bromley, and this week the Orbit team have been talking about money. Now, in a few moments' time, I'm going to be introducing you to our guest for this evening's Q&A. But before we do that, for those of you who have not yet had a chance to listen to episode 8 of The Orbit, here's a sneak preview.
We need to get away from this idea of good for poker, bad for poker, and stop using the word next poker boom. Poker is doing amazing everywhere. Online fields are massive. Every single casino that still operates a poker room has a packed house every single night. As tournaments are now resuming post-pandemic, numbers are insane. Like Florida had a huge series of events. All the numbers were breaking records. The World Poker Tour is having huge turnouts on the return of all their events. We're looking at the wrong thing here. We should all go back and think of why poker was so successful when it first grew. It was increased access to the game, whether it was live or online. We removed a lot of that access when Black Friday happened. And yes, I know I'm speaking mostly towards the US, but that's also because the US was the big market that sparked that big boom because they had such great access to the game. Now, we've seen a lot of growth in every single non-US market post Black Friday because over there was legislation put in place. There were things being done to make poker more accessible. So what we need is more easier access to the game. We don't need a poker boom. We don't need to have, a woman winning the main event to all of a sudden turn things upside down. That's all great, but it's not what poker needs. Poker needs money into, sadly, politics. We need money towards the right people that know how to shake the right hands to get legislation passed to give people more access to the game.
Exciting stuff. So guys, if you have not yet seen it yet, go and check out episode 11, not episode 8. It's episode 11. Don't go to the wrong show, guys. So before we get going, let's put you in the driving seat. We are streaming live and this is an interactive session. You have, right below you, a chat box. We want to hear your views on money in poker. We want your reaction to The Orbit. But most importantly, we want your questions to our panel this evening. So without further ado, let's bring them in. I am delighted this evening to be joined by two absolute powerhouses of the poker world, entrepreneurs, successful businessmen. First up, founder of DTD and the absolute champion for low stakes and recreational players, Mr. Rob Young. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And secondly, alongside us is an international poker champion. And I understand, saviour of the Sunday roast, which we will come on to later on. Welcome, Sam Razavi.
Hi, how's it going? Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you both. So let's dive straight in. Sam, let's start with you. What was your immediate reaction to watching that episode of The Orbit?
I mean, it's really the clip that you just showed, the sort of preview really summed it up for me. I like how, particularly how, well versed I think Remco is in like he was amazingly articulate in everything he said, and I think it was lovely to just see him go straight to the point and say no, and be quite unafraid to say we have to, when he talked about money and politics and shaking hands and blah blah blah. And yeah, I think it was it's always been quite a subject that I've always sort of debated about, money and poker, across the whole episode when you spoke about splurging money and staking and everything across the board. And it's always been something that I've debated into the early hours with a lot of people. So it was really interesting to listen to the viewpoints of some, obviously people at the top of the game. From all sectors, the media, Chris Moneymaker, Martin. Yeah, it's quite an eye opener as well for me. A few things that I hadn't, thought about myself.
Yeah, well, I think there's quite a few themes coming out on there, so we're going to pick your brains coming through the show and to get your reaction to them. But Rob, one of the key points that kept coming out throughout the show was this idea that we measure poker success consistently on total winnings, not whether somebody is a profitable player, whether they're a losing player, but trophies and titles and quantum of money makes a successful poker player. Now, you're obviously a successful businessman, and that doesn't always make you a successful businessman. So where do you sit with that? Have you always agreed with that approach, or do you measure it a different way?
Well, like anything, success is measured, in my opinion, where you start from and where you get to. So just like in soccer, if you start at the ninth level of the pyramid and you get to the fourth, the third level of the pyramid, that can be as good as getting from the championship to the premiership. So I think it's really simple for me. Success is how much you've improved. So and therefore people could be successful at any level of any sport. So I mean, it's like black and white for me. That I mean, somebody who can run 100 meters in under 10 seconds, but has improved from 11 seconds. Well, he's improved 10%. Someone who improved from 15 to 12, I would say he's more successful. So
yeah.
Poker similar. I would see someone who'd like started playing $1 tournaments and ended up playing $100 tournaments as more successful as someone that started off straight in at 1Ks and started to play 25Ks. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is something, as a recreational player myself, it is something that I have to really be careful about, because I consume so much poker news and I watch so many things, and I've got poker idols who I see taking down massive tournaments and trophies, and you want to emulate that. You want to be in their position. But for me, winning just a small tournament and getting that first place gives me a massive amount of confidence. So you've got to, I think, if you're going to encourage new players to come into the game, you've got to have that balance. Sam, how do you approach that in your session? So I guess, what would give you the biggest a sense of accomplishment, sitting down and having a really profitable session, or winning a trophy which is maybe, and a prize pool which is maybe less than you would get in a successful cash game, for example?
Well, I think I've always been one that's always sort of gone for the trophies, because I really, for whatever reason, I think it's always a cliche that, unless you finish first, you're sort of disappointed. But in the back of my mind, poker's always about the money for me. It has to be, otherwise I would probably choose a more respectable job. Do you know what I mean? It's but I do think that, yeah, for me it's all about when I go into a tournament. I mean, I get a big buzz just winning when I come back, or when I used to come back from my travels. Now the travels seem so long ago. I would always go back down to the rendezvous and play their £10 or £20 tournament, because quite frankly, that's where I sort of start. It always gives me a buzz to be back there and just playing amongst people I know, and or I knew, because they're still the same faces.
Yeah.
I started 15 years ago.
What is the biggest buzz tournament you ever played?
Sorry?
What tournament you ever played gave you the most excitement before you sat down? Anticipation.
That is a great question.
I think I could probably nail it down to the Aussie Millions main event, when I basically won a package on black belt poker back in the day, and I hadn't really played any big tournaments. So to actually play a 10K buy-in was quite something, and I felt excited. I also felt nervous. I also have this real thing about when I'm playing with someone else's money. I have this real fear of, I just don't want to want to lose their money. So that, I could definitely pinpoint that down to that one event. But before that, definitely in the early days, just playing the £10, the £5 rebuy, whatever. When I never really played poker live, because I started online, just going in, and the nerves, and until of course played so many, you just it becomes second nature or whatever.
Do you not get that anymore, Sam? Do you never get those jitters when you walk in, or get a bit overwhelmed? Because I've been playing for like 12 years and only at recreational level, and I get that all the time when I'm walking into a big tournament. Really intimidating.
I think it's just a shame. It's like many things, well, like everything in life, the more you become familiar with something, the less I don't know what the word,
daunting,
or it has, yeah. I always get that buzz when I walk into the World Series because it's always, it's so huge, and the prospect of, a bracelet is still something that eludes me, and something that is really my goal in poker. And I'm sure it's something that if it ever happened, I would eventually turn around and say, why was I so bothered about? That's why that really gives me a lot of excitement. But apart from that, I mean, I'm sure after a year and a half or whatever of not being able to play anything live, I'm sure when I walk back into a tournament anywhere, it's going to be, doesn't matter what the buy-in is, it's the excitement's going to come back. So it'd be something that'd be nice to experience, I guess.
God, yeah, I can't wait. Well, has that been a similar experience for you, Rob? Because obviously you've got so involved now in behind the scenes and running poker, and obviously helping bring recreational players through. Has that affected your buzz when you do get to sit down and play, or do you still get that tingle when you can actually get to play a big tournament?
I don't play many tournaments. I think the last tournament I played was the £1 million buy-in that in London, and that was
same.
That gave me a tingle because everyone had to sit down at the start. There was no late reg. If you busted, you couldn't re-enter, and the set that Triton did was amazing. So I guess However, someone asked me this question, and I actually got, no disrespect to that amazing tournament that Triton did, but I think my favourite tournament was the Vic once a year, when they used to have a 1K once a year. I think it was called the British Open.
Yeah.
And I used to get really nervous before that every year. You had Devilfish, Simon Trumper, Barney Boatman, Ramverswadi. You had all these guys playing, and I was so nervous to play with those guys. So I actually got more of a buzz playing that, to be honest, than the biggest tournament, the highest buy-in tournament ever.
But that to me is a really good example of why this idea that we only judge success on level of winnings is flawed, because you've just given a perfect example.
I think, as I said, I think success is from where your A is and where your B got to.
Definitely.
In all walks of life, and obviously touching on Sam's point, about people that there is a lot of people that don't love the game, that just play for money. So there is people that will literally say, I want to play $1 million worth of buy-ins over a year, and I'm going to try and get 5% ROI, and that's my 50,000 in wages, and they treat it just like a job. And you always see those people kind of depressed at the table, earphones on. It's just a job for them.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Obviously, those people are not enjoying it as much as some of the other guys. So,
yeah, it's true. I remember the first ever World Series event. I was so lucky. I'd been saving up a bankroll for so long, and went out to, I think it was probably the third trip we went to Vegas, and I finally bought into the ladies event, my first ever bracelet event. It was before the 10K. It was when it was 1K for everybody. And I was just not cool. I was so excited to be there. I was taking pictures on the rail. I was posting to all my family and everything. And I really hope that I never lose that. And I never want to lose that feeling of sitting down. Rob, sticking with you for now, I just want to pick up on a point that Sam said then when he was talking about how uncomfortable he feels playing, or it gives a different dynamic playing with other people's money. One of the points, I think it might have been Remco actually who said it. Forgive me, I can't remember who raised it. They were talking about it's the invisible money in poker. So it's not just necessarily the players and their bankrolls and how many bullets they fired at a tournament. It's the investors behind, the people who run the stables, the people who bet on players' performances. Now, you must have a lot of experience of that, seeing it behind the scenes.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, I guess the most obvious question for recreational players is, does that merit more transparency in the market as to who's backed, who isn't backed, how many, and this idea that people, they're firing 3 bullets at a tournament and people think they've got free money, and this idea, no, that's not free money, but they don't necessarily understand the principle of markup. Do you think there's work to be done there, or is it none of our business essentially?
I think it's fine. I mean, poker tournaments wouldn't get the runners they get without backers. And to be honest with you, in my whole life, the guys that state, and I find them so honest. I've never come across collusion. They play hard against each other. I think it's blown out of proportion a little bit, and sometimes these guys get crucified. For example, the high rollers. Say there's two big stables staking the high rollers, and the recreational player wins. The stables get wiped out. I mean, I remember that happened in one event where two guys I knew who invested like 4 or 5 million each into an event, and none of their players cashed. The 10 mil went to the guys. So, you hear a lot of horror stories about this guy's got a piece of this guy's swapping with this guy. But I actually think when that happens, people are extra diligent they know they're back, they know they swapped a piece, they're almost extra professional and extra honest. So I think staking, betting, I think it's great for poker. And whilst I've never actually calculated my cumulative losses on that side of the business, certainly not. I mean, certainly in a loss. I mean, a lot of staking that goes on as well. It's not necessarily smart money. You're often trying to help people out. So let's say there's a 10K tournament or a 5K tournament. You might say, I'll buy you, I'll buy 9, I'll put you in and we'll go 50-50. It's a 1K tournament. You might put someone in who's a bit down on the luck.
Yeah.
So I'd say 50% of staking is actually helping a friend out or helping someone out that's managed to get hold of you. I've staked more people that I wouldn't choose to stake than I've staked.
Yes. I can imagine actually.
Simon Trump for one. He must be my consecutive 15 years losing horse.
Poor Simon. But it is. I think that's a really good example of what the community and the poker family is when you do get into it. I think you tend to get those confused attitudes and those grumbles about staking and about things like that from players who don't necessarily understand how the poker ecosystem works.
I think people think that this guy's on a free roll because he's staked.
Yes.
And he shove all in with Jack 2 when he's actually under more pressure, to be honest, because he's playing with somebody else's money. Yeah. So definitely. I think staking's absolutely great for poker.
It's necessary, I would argue, for poker to keep us going.
People can go broke, even good players can go broke, and staking allows you to ride the variance. And so I'm a big fan of staking. In terms of betting, I think what betting does, like my friend Timex, who owns poker shares, I think what that does is get people talking on social media, get people comparing odds, get people opinions. I think it's really good for PR. So I love the betting side. I mean, his prices are a bit naff, but he's always right. But Timex has generated a lot of PR through the betting, especially on that last thing that they did, the Phil Galfond, not Phil Galfond, Daniel Garner, Doug Polk. That was, I don't know how much was bet on that market. I mean, I got stung. Basically, all the businessmen were in on Nagano, and all the sharp money was in on Polk, I think, and we all got caned. But the PR that created with the betting was fantastic, and I believe people are betting on Bill Perkins, and I haven't bet myself, and Landon, Joe English protege. So I think that's really, really good PR. And, I think as people have realised that poker is quite skillful, betting markets have developed. So I think it's all really, really good.
I do, and I think there might be a natural tendency to break more into that market. We see the biggest example we can give this is the football market. I mean, we can't watch a live game of football now without in-play betting and odds. And it gets the betting companies are sponsoring shirts. It's everywhere. So when that becomes more socially acceptable in society, people will feel more comfortable in going into these areas. And Sam, I think that brings us nicely on to the second major theme that came through the episode that we were watching. And I think Martin opened the show with talking about the poker environment and how money gets distributed through it and what we need to get more money into the system. And I know there was a debate about whether it's sponsorship money comes in or player money, but you've been around for a long time now. You've seen cycles of players coming and going. What would you like to see in terms of encouraging new players into the game, particularly those who are potentially nervous about the what's the word I'm looking for, about the gambling side of it and what that looks like to the family and friends?
Yes, this has always been quite a thing with me, because I've got 6 brothers, and
Wow.
I know that quite a few of them played or dabbled, and when I found that I was making money through poker, I thought I was sort of torn between wanting to encourage them to take on what seemed like a wise, if you can make money in poker and you're not paying tax and blah blah blah. On the other hand, you just don't know people's tendencies from the gambling perspective, and I have a real thing about that side of protecting players. And I know there's been this thing in the industry now, oh, know your player and blah blah blah, but I think it seems it's been more of an irritant to some companies than actually, but that's something I don't really want to delve into too much. But yeah, I think encouraging people to play, but it's just such a tough thing.
It's such a tough. I'm sorry. There's no easy questions on this show, Sam. I should have warned you. I'm sorry. I'm going to put you on the spot. But it is. It's such a difficult balance, isn't it? You want to bring new players in because we've all played for a long time and we know what a fantastic game it is. But you've got to protect people and make sure they're playing within their limits.
Yeah, I mean, I was like a lot of people, encouraged by watching late night poker and all that stuff, and the original sort of WPTs.
They were great, weren't they?
They were so good.
Amazing. I still watch them to this day.
Late night poker, I still watch.
And
I want to do another one. I want to do late night poker just to dawn and get all those old boys to play.
oh, that's just
that would be the dream.
unbelievable.
A few of them have passed away, but maybe we can get Trumpet to get the old crew back together.
That would be awesome.
See how they play, and then get the young guns in against them. And I just love the oldies to win.
Yeah, that'd be just amazing.
Make it
It is. Yeah. I'm gonna come back to you on that point actually, Rob, because that was one of my questions I was going to ask. So hold that thought about TV. We'll let Sam go on and carry on his sentence, and I'm going to come back to you.
I was just trying to sort of say, I like people to organically, I've always had this thing where the debate came up a few years ago about keeping recreational players happy, keeping the fish in the game, and
I hate that expression.
To me, that it's like you shouldn't, pros or anyone that considers themselves a pro shouldn't be going out of their way to, number one, put down other so-called pros and say what you're doing is wrong. We need to keep, because you're actually not doing anything good for society if you're saying we have to keep people in that are losing money. That doesn't slide with me. Keep recreational players in and let them play within their means. Let them, however much they want to lose is up to them. I was once definitely a recreational player, a massive fish, and if I ever
I still am.
they're like, oh, we want to keep him in the game because he's losing money. I think it doesn't
sit that well to human nature, does it?
And there's been some things, and I have to say, not kissing arse or anything, like the stuff that Rob, you've done is, just that it should be more, people obviously, know about it, about the good you've done for poker and recreational players and the balance.
Definitely.
But it should be lauded more. This is what Rob's done with party poker and blah blah. And I don't want to go into it to make it look like I'm kissing ass or whatever. But these are the things that should be really appreciated. But they're not pushed to the forefront.
No, they're not. I don't understand that either.
Well, we understand because it doesn't. You're trying to do something good, but if you have to praise that, then you have to sort of take that on. That sort of
that's true.
On board yourself, and then balancing that business side.
Well, I mean, poker's a unique game. I always say my dad, bless him, he's not very well at the moment, but he went to my casino or poker club 7 days a week, sat down with young people, he's 84 years old. It kept him coherent. He was talking, moving, sociable, made new friends when a lot of his friends have passed away. Poker is such a beautiful community game.
Yeah, it is.
For me personally, you know, I think people should be able to take responsibility for what they spend their money on. We don't stop someone in the Prada shop and say, don't buy that Prada bag for $3,000. And I think poker is like a really good thing I would want my daughter and my son to play poker. You learn so much. You learn so much about life, you know. When
you do.
A pair of twos against ace king, and then you learn it's 51-49. You also start to relate that to other decisions that you make in life. So, you know, the game of poker is, for me, it's like the game of life, and I think it's such a really, really good game. I would encourage people to play. However,
I agree.
I agree with a lot of the theories about why poker's kind of has stagnated a little bit and numbers haven't gone up, while the World Series never hit 10,000 players. A lot of people blaming ecology, and of course, yeah, these are issues that haven't helped. But I think I was on a show, I can't remember which one it was. Someone asked me, you know, what does poker need? And I said the governments with the regulation stopping people playing together. If you're in France, you can't play with a UK person. If you're in America, not supposed to play. If you're in Australia, you can't play with anyone. You know, Sweden, you know, they basically stopped the people playing against each other, stopped poker growing, because poker is a liquidity-based game. More players, bigger the prize pools, more cash games run. It's liquid. It's a liquidity. It's like bingo.
Yeah.
Liquidity, and the governments with their regulation have knifed the liquidity. So that's really, in my opinion, what has made poker stagnate a little bit more than all this talk about bots and these things, and re-entries and pros playing with solvers, and yeah, these things aren't good, clearly. But the actual biggest problem is the fact that, just like Remco was saying, someone decided to switch off the United States from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And you know the craziest thing? Poker's like, in England, people love fishing and bowls. It's like a pastime. Poker in the US, people have Sunday night games, Thursday night games. It's like insane what they did compared to the culture. So, you know, you talk about the money in poker, you know, making poker more accessible. I mean, I like Remco. I'm surprised he came up with such a good answer. But that was, I thought he was a media guy, but yeah. I mean, it's crazy. The German legislation, you know, Germany are now saying that, and I believe Poker Stars and Bosy Poker and GG Poker and 888 are going to have to do this, and some online card rooms are just not going to service Germany. But the German government has said now, if a German player takes €100 to the table, immediately the German government takes 5.3% tax.
It's just...
That's coming in from the 1st of July, I heard. I think Unibet just said we're just not even going to bother. It's so unfair. And on a tournament as well, basically the government said if you charge $100 for a tournament, you have to charge German players $105.30.
I mean, it's just
these governments, they're horrendous, and they've really stopped poker growing, because I think poker would have continued growing. The World Series was on a trajectory like that. It would have hit 10,000 players, and that really, people look at that World Series number and that big prize, and that stimulates the rest of the world. It just got stunted by regulation.
Yeah, and it seems to be getting worse as well. I mean, I wonder whether, and this comes back to the TV point that you just made then, Rob, is that if we're trying to grow the game, we're trying to get more players in there. I wonder if one of the possible solutions is making sure that the message gets out there as to what a skill game poker is, and it isn't just the luck element of it, and that there is an enjoyable skill game. And one of the I think it might have been Martin who said it actually, that was saying that to get more televised poker on there, and there's been over the years a lot of really high profile television, but we don't necessarily have UK based televised poker. And I wonder if that's something that could be explored, maybe to show people the tactics of it and how good it is, and get people playing recreationally.
TV definitely would help, but the online companies now, they're struggling so much with all this regulation. Their margins are being cut, taxes are getting higher and higher. They're really struggling to justify budgets to do good things for the long term. If you just think about all the changes that have been made over PokerStars have done great, but they would have been a lot bigger if they hadn't had all these markets cut off. So they have shareholders who are used to a certain level of profit. So what's the first thing that's going to get cut? Well, EPT TV show is going to get cut, isn't it? Because it's expensive.
Marketing always goes first.
It's a tricky spot, really. The online companies have basically been bent over, and these fixed marketing branding budgets to promote the game have had to be cut. And honestly, like the regulation, I believe it's something like Swedish players can deposit €100 a month now.
What?
Yeah, it's insane.
God, interesting stuff.
And the craziest thing about France and Spain, Spanish players can't play a tournament more than €200, whereas France can, and on the same network. So the online operators have to say, no, you're Spanish, you can't play this tournament.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So there's
Wow.
I mean, having spent some time in the industry, I think I've spent nearly, I was involved in the first cryptologic network. Sam will remember that. William Hill, Betfair, Interpoker. I was involved in the room then, so I've been in the business for so long. And I've just seen governments and regulation hurt the game so much. So it's pumping money into TV. Yeah, it would help a little bit, but
Yeah, I mean that must drive you mad, Rob, because in any of your other business ventures and the successes that you make in business, you don't have these same hurdles. It must just drive you absolutely mad that you can see solutions and you can see growth, and you're just being stopped at every single hurdle.
Well, I mean, my main business has never just been poker. It's been more of a hobby for me. So kind of like I could break even and be celebrating, a bit like staking some but yeah, it's been frustrating to see everyone looking for blaming lots of other reasons why poker's stagnated, not continued along its growth curve, when really it's the governments that have effectively split the liquidity, and they've actually driven more poker underground. So more home games in houses, home games in hotels, and also driven people out of the game because people want to be able to free to play, go to a casino, buy in. They don't want to be asked when they go. I went to the Alea, and bless them. I wanted to go and play blackjack, and they want me to fill out God knows what. I mean, there's a big clampdown on this idea that we have to protect people from playing poker. They're treating it like it's a slot machine or a casino. They don't treat it like a skill game.
Definitely, and I think the game could really benefit from not a rebrand as such, because people who play it always know that, but just an emphasis on the skill element of it, and I think that's a really important point. The third topic, which was a recurring theme in the show, and I'll come back to you on this one, Sam, was a real bombshell moment for me. Martin Jacobson was talking about emotions in poker, and it was kind of linked to this idea that money equals success and your winnings mean you're a successful player. And he came out with a sentence which genuinely stunned me when he said that winning a bracelet is not a big deal anymore to most pros. Yeah, and I was genuinely shocked. Why? That may be true, but what? Do you agree or disagree? We've
been diluted by the amount of events.
So the World Series bracelets, they're still not the pinnacle anymore, even because of the volume of events.
Well, I think people would rather have a bracelet than not have one. But I think there was a time when I know players that have, when they've got heads up, have done a deal, taken less prize money to have a bracelet. That's how much it used to mean.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would do that, to be fair. I think I would take more money.
gave away $300,000 of equity
No.
out to have the bracelet. Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
I get that, but I think I wonder whether, Sam, as a player in some of the levels that you play, is there not a fundamental sports person or a professional competitor within you that even though the money is important, wants that title? Will that not always be there?
I think for me personally, because I can't really speak for everyone else, I know for me, I was like, I would get angry when I fled to Asia because when poker started getting a bit too serious for me, when no one was talking, I was like, I'm out of here. It was an EPT Barcelona once where I made the decision. I was like, I just don't enjoy that. I have to be there and have a laugh. And then you've got people not wanting to talk because they think, oh, he's talking to me because he wants to get information. I'm like, mate, I'm not that clever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just, I've put a lot of whatever I've achieved down to being in the right place at the right time or whatever. Yeah. But even in Asia, when I was, sort of going and playing these, I would be, my wife would be like, what are you doing playing this $50 tournament, like equivalent? And I'd still be, I'd be so angry if I didn't, like, I get heads up and didn't win the trophy. And it's only a little bit of glass. And so for me, always, like, and particularly because I haven't done it and because I have come close on a few occasions, I really want to. I think it's the moment because the sit and go pit is so profitable. It's that I feel like I've got unfinished business with the bracelet, and all I envision is I can win the bracelet and move on. I can move on.
I'm done. I retire.
I can choose when I go to dinner. I can just do what I want. But for me, yeah, I really, I was a bit surprised. I kind of understand where Martin's coming from, and especially with online bracelets and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get that.
I think that might have diluted the what's the word?
People want to win history, so like there's only one US Open. People want to win the US Open. They want to win Wimbledon. People value winning in uniqueness, and I think I think with so many bracelets now, so many events. It has made it a little bit, if I'm being honest, a little bit less desirable. Not to guys like Phil Hellmuth and Negreanu. I mean, they still love the bracelet, but I think for the modern generation now who didn't see the history, they come and they see all these different events, opportunities to win. It's not so unique anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand it. It is the same with anything. As you try and grow and you get more and more prestigious events, then yeah, one does get one. But I think for me as a rec player, the World Series will always have just that feel of it. I guess sticking with the emotions theme, Rob, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. They talked about in the episode how you deal with emotions and money and how they're interconnected, and this comes up a lot. And I think the example that they gave is that the turn of a card can mean something to one person and something to another. To somebody, it can mean nothing. I think, it's Moneymaker. He said he's in such a privileged position now financially that a turn of a card, if it doesn't go in his favour, it doesn't affect him anymore because he's just like, oh well, I move on. But there are some people, playing out there that turn card can be absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
How have you processed that, and what tips can you give to people about having that disconnect between the money and the skill of the game?
Well, I don't think many poker players play within their bankroll.
No, no, they don't.
They
play within a budget.
Maybe, but I think most people are playing higher than they should.
Mm-hmm.
And I played cash games higher than where I felt uncomfortable, to be honest with you. Like I played like 5,000, 10,000 PLO. And now I felt uncomfortable in that game.
Oh, you reckon? Wow.
So what I would say is we're always searching for the thrill. So if the card doesn't mean anything to us, I'm not sure whether we can get the thrill. So
True.
I think
That
Chris
is true.
can, because Chris just loves playing poker. Any stakes, he just loves playing. And but I think some of the more degenerate guys, like myself included, we have to feel the pain sometimes. And
Yeah.
but not too often. So
Yeah,
what I would
not
say,
very often.
I think it's in the majority of people where the turn card means something. They might not show it, but yeah, it means something. And in terms of coping with it, it's just odds, isn't it? You can go. I mean, I liken poker to going to work. You can go to work and you can tell your boss he's a complete dickhead, and you might have a 30% chance of getting the stack, the sack. That's pretty much the same odds as putting it in
True.
with a straight draw. Well, straight draw slightly higher, but you know. So I liken poker to just the risks of life, and if you need your job, you probably shouldn't tell your boss he's a complete dickhead.
True.
Take that risk.
Wise words.
And therefore, the advice in poker is, you know, if it's critical that the turn or river is in your favour, you probably shouldn't be in the game.
Yeah. Good
That's
advice.
That's not the best advice ever, but I can't say that I've taken that advice myself.
Do we ever take our own advice? I don't think we do. I think
sometimes we just need a buzz, and
true.
sometimes it's good to test your nerve and see how you react to it. So
Yeah.
I know some poker players who put their last bankroll into a tournament, say, or even a 1K buy-in, and they come to me and said, if I don't win this, I can't pay the bills next month.
Oh, don't tell me these stories. That's horrific. I don't know how people. Yeah, well, yeah, I always disagree with that. I think the way I do with this.
And then 6 months later, I'll see them, and they'll be back on their feet, and they've been stronger for the experience. So sometimes the pain of the turn in the river can make you a stronger man or woman.
Definitely.
But I don't think. But the advice would be to not do it too often.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good word. I think how I've always approached this being, I'm quite fortunate in that I've played poker for a long time, but I've got a sensible job, and I'm quite clever in what I do. So I've always been very sensible with poker. I've always found the best way that I get the best of both worlds is to enter tournaments at a level that is just at the top end of where I feel comfortable. So I get that buzz and it means something, but where it's also not too painful to lose it. So it's almost trying to find where your edge is and find where you feel most comfortable, and then just push it just ever so slightly over. We're only talking fractions, and that's how I tend to deal with that. It's an interesting debate.
You shouldn't risk your whole bankroll on one tournament.
No, I'd never do that.
If it affects the way you play the game because you're nervous, you shouldn't be playing that game. We all know it, and that advice anyone can give anyone about poker, can't they? But,
yeah, definitely.
I would say that sometimes it's good to test yourself, because you can become out a stronger person from it.
Definitely. Good words. I'm going to finish off with some listener questions that have been sent in for us because I'm conscious of time. We're going to start wrapping up soon. So some of these I think we might already covered. So let's just see. So Rob, one for you. How do you view making money as a businessman versus making money as a poker player? You've kind of touched on this, so just a summary would be great.
Kind of same. No, it's just the same. It's just the same world, isn't it? Every poker decision is the same as a business decision, and in my life, I've definitely gambled in business recklessly, and I've also gambled in poker recklessly. Particularly when I was younger, I gambled in business very recklessly. I remember when I was in business, I made my first £1 million when I was 21, and instead of putting it in the bank, I went and recruited an extra 50 people and opened another 10 offices and blew the whole lot. So I think from that point of view, it's always a good idea to to not take too many risks.
Definitely. Sam, one for you that's come in. Again, you've probably touched on this a little bit anyway, but which is more important to you, winning Asian Poker Player of the Year or one big score? So we're not talking long-term winnings. We're talking about, would you trade those titles for one big score? And we'll let you define what a big score is.
Yeah, any day of the week, really. I mean, it's I got with the Asian Poker Tour, the Player of the Year thing. I think that this was more a character flaw for me, because I didn't know in the first year, because I won it a couple of times. I didn't know in the first year that there was an APT Player of the Year race. When I saw that I was up there, I thought I have to go for the #1 spot, and that's again with me wanting to win. I don't know, it's ridiculous, really, but you know, I can't help myself. And then I just thought it'd be quite cool to win it again. So then I tried it again, and then the third time it was like, freeze my lucky number. And I'm finding all these excuses. We're in this point where you think, well, if I lose it, then there's a bit of shame there, especially in Asia and Japan. And but at the end of the day, like I said, it's really about the money. That's not to mean that I don't care about winning, but it would be very irresponsible of me, especially these days when I have a family, to say, you know what's better than cash? I'm Player of the Year.
This title.
Yeah, no, it would be
I think you would value that more than most poker players, Sam.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think winning something and having a title and being Player of the Year, I do get the feeling, like with yourself, that you would you'd value it more than the average poker player.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do.
You like the game. You are interested, genuine interest in the game.
Yeah, like, for sure. And and like I'm still to the end of time going to be trying to win. As long as there's a trophy to be won, if it's £1 to buy and I'm there, you know.
I would love to win an EPT.
Huh? Oh.
I would love to win an EPT. I'm a final table in the EPT in Dublin, and I got knocked out by Roland de Wolf in the final. I finished 4th or something, and I didn't play for 2 years. I felt so sick. I refused to play tournaments for 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm like,
not surprised.
So that level of pain, you know. So yeah, I mean, I love poker, and I think it's great. As I said, I would love my kids to do it. So I think it's
definitely
that thrill of winning is still there with the right people.
Yeah.
But I think just in football, some footballers just play for the money, don't they? They don't play for the.
Yeah, that's true.
I do find people victimise poker players. You only play for the money. You're a nice guy. You play for the trophy. Well, look at footballers. So many.
Do we not all just work for money? I definitely don't. I work because I get a salary at the end of the month.
Well, these footballers, they sit on the bench and never play and get paid and never play, do they? They don't love the game. They go to a smaller club and play. And I think with poker, people think if you're playing for the money, it's something bad. Well, no, welcome to the real world. Some people play for glory, and some people play for the money. You know. I think you're a mix. I think, aren't you, Sam?
I would say I'm definitely like almost 50-50. But if it comes to it, you know, I still love
money. Take the cash.
But if it comes down to it, I have to say.
I think I'll play for the glory. I think if I got a choice to win an EPT for zero prize money, or win like another tournament that was less prestigious and get the prize money, I think it'd be a real toss up for me whether I was just love to win that. I'd love to show John Duffy and say I won one of the tournaments you created.
That would be ace. No, I agree with that. I think given that it's just a one-off, I think that raises quite an interesting topic. Rob, one for you, just the last two before we wrap up. And this was inevitably going to come up given that we were talking about the money conversation. And it is, of course, the now infamous Jake Chord incident. Did you ever consider stopping him? This has come from Recreational.
I mean, I can tell you what happened in 30 seconds. I didn't have any money to pay a taxi driver. I'll just tell you what happened in 30 seconds.
Sure, go ahead.
I couldn't afford to pay the taxi driver on my way home from town. So I said, stop at just the dawn, and I'll get £20 off the cash tax to pay my taxi driver. I wasn't going to the club that night. And then Jake Cody came across and said, I want to spin on red or black for winnings for the high roller, and they won't let me. And I said, well, you know, you've had a bit to drink. No, I haven't. I said, well, he said he started to walk up and down and show you working a perfect line, and I said, well, you know, are you sure you want to do this? And then he said, you haven't got the bottle to me.
Uh-oh. Game over.
So yeah, obviously, like I was literally just going home, just dropping in, and then obviously, you know, him and his friends all goaded me into it, and I said, okay, I want to spin the ball myself, and I spun the ball myself, and obviously, it was guaranteed to come in against me, wasn't it? And then I think I got like 13 million views that video, didn't it?
It was crazy.
I got contacted by the Gambling Commission to check on the incident.
To make sure it was legit, or?
No, to make sure that I hadn't encouraged irresponsible gambling.
Oh wow!
But luckily, before he did it, I got one of my managers, the supervisors, say, "Are you sure you want to do this? Just I think it's for 45,000, just to check my back." And yeah, the Gambling Commission contacted me, and they looked into the incident to see whether it's kind of crazy on the basis that I lost, that I encouraged him into it. And then obviously, like, I've been goaded about that one for a long time. But I mean, I don't know why he wants. I said to him, "Why do you want to do that?" And he said, "Well, Bitcoin had gone up or something, and something to do with crypto. He'd done well on crypto, so he wasn't that bothered." So.
Oh, to this day, I will remain.
He's a lovely guy.
He is a lovely guy. I think I was horrified by the entire episode, and I really feel like he
just wants to stick it up, mate. That's all.
Yeah.
He wants to stick it up me in front of everybody, and he did. And
you boys,
I was just innocently getting some money to pay for a taxi. I wasn't even in it. I was going to stop in the club for like less than 30 seconds.
Expensive cab ride.
55k taxi ride home.
Yeah. Ouch.
It was just a disaster, wasn't it? And why can't it come in black? Why does it have to come in red?
Yeah.
Oh, terrible.
Why?
I hated it. I hated it.
He didn't deserve it, did he? He didn't deserve to hit that after approaching me to do it, then trying to embarrass me in front of everybody, saying Rob's a chicken, he hasn't got the bottle, and then he hits his red. I mean, where's the justice in the world?
Yeah.
Excellent. Final question then, and we are going to wrap up. Sam, this is one for you, and it probably just needs a yes or no question. I think we can probably leave it there, but Remco's story that closed off the game about you taking them all out, true or false?
Yeah, true. But sorry, I haven't got in touch with him actually. I was going to message him to say thank you for the kind words, because it is a night I remember as well. And I just remember didn't make a big deal about it, but I know how hard everyone works in a tournament, and it's not just down to, once the last card's dealt, you've got all the money and you send all the dealers home and everything. If it wasn't for the collective effort, really. And that's why I just said, whoever's free, the dealers and that, let's just go and have a drink and whatnot. So
yeah, it's a good thing to do. Although Moneymaker trumped you though with his stripper story. Did you see that scene at the end?
But I think I was like, just a nice night of eating and drinking together as opposed to those shenanigans.
Debauchery. Definitely. Well, that was a good thing to do, and a good example of how the money in poker can be put to good use. Gentlemen, that is all we've got time for. I could literally talk to you both for the entire evening. This has been a fascinating show. Thank you both for your time. Keep your eye out on social media, listeners, for episode 12 of The Orbit when then comes out, which will, of course, be followed by The Orbit Extra, where we will be analysing whatever comes next. Thank you to Rob and to Sam for their valuable time tonight. Excellent. Thank you for the entire Orbit team, front of house and behind the scenes, for getting these shows out there, and to you, the listeners. Keep an eye out, and we will be back shortly. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been The Orbit Extra. Until next time.
Thank you, Natalie. Good to see you, Sam.
And you, yeah.
You're looking well and healthy.
Sorry?
I've lost all my hair.